What happens when a single $10,000 dress becomes the spark that ignites a public feud between a global fashion icon and a modern royal? Imagine the tension in a room where power, image, and ego collide, and the fallout is broadcast not just on red carpets, but across the globe, trending on social media within seconds. That is exactly what happened when Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, appeared in a stunning gown that was supposed to be a statement of elegance, sophistication, and personal taste. But in a moment no one anticipated, Victoria Beckham, a titan of the fashion world and someone who has carefully curated her image for decades, publicly humiliated Meghan in a way that reverberated far beyond the walls of that event. What started as a seemingly innocent fashion choice spiraled into a chain reaction of brand withdrawals, celebrity gossip frenzies, and cultural debates that still linger today. And it all began with one dress. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. The first question everyone asks is, how could a simple dress cause such chaos? But this wasn't just any dress. It carried a price tag that made it instantly newsworthy, $10,000. But more than the monetary value, the dress symbolized status, influence, and the subtle unspoken rules of who gets to command attention in a room already brimming with eyes. For Meghan, this dress was meant to be a carefully calculated move, a nod to sophistication, a whisper of power, a chance to remind the world that she, too, belonged in spaces long dominated by fashion royalty. For Victoria Beckham, however, it was an affront, a misstep, an unspoken challenge to her carefully constructed empire. And when Victoria noticed, she didn't just think it. She acted, publicly, and with precision. In a moment broadcast to the world, she set off what can only be described as a domino effect of humiliation and scandal. Within hours, social media exploded. Headlines screamed. Influencers weighed in. And brands that had long courted Meghan began to question their alliances. This was no longer about a dress. It was about influence, hierarchy, and control. It was about a war of perception in which every public glance, every tweet, every paparazzi snapshot could tip the scales. Imagine being at the center of that storm, under a microscope watched by millions. Could anyone really survive it unscathed? And yet, to fully understand the magnitude of this scandal, we need to step back and look at the players. Meghan Markle is no stranger to public scrutiny. Her life has been a complex dance between royal protocols, media attention, and personal ambitions. She has faced criticism, praise, and obsession in equal measure. Every outfit she wears is analyzed, every gesture dissected, every smile evaluated for hidden meaning. But despite years in the spotlight, even she was not prepared for the calculated precision of a public rebuke from someone of Victoria Beckham's stature. Victoria isn't just a designer, she's a cultural barometer. She commands respect, influence, and clout. To be publicly corrected, especially over fashion, something Meghan thought she controlled, was a psychological blow. And it wasn't just a minor slight. It was the kind of humiliation that echoes through personal relationships, professional partnerships, and public perception. So what exactly happened? The event itself seemed routine, a high-profile gala filled with celebrities, fashion editors, influencers, and royalty. The cameras clicked, flashes popped, and the room was alive with chatter. Meghan made her entrance in a gown that was breathtaking, poised to capture headlines for all the right reasons. But Victoria Beckham, watching from across the room, noticed something. Perhaps it was the cut of the dress, the color, or the timing of Meghan's appearance. Whatever it was, it triggered a reaction that would be documented across news feeds and Instagram stories for days to come. Without issuing a private word or discreet commentary, Victoria chose the path that would guarantee public attention. She made her feelings known in a subtle yet unmistakable way, sending a ripple through the room and the online world. The first whispers of scandal started to circulate immediately. By the end of the evening, the story had mutated into something far bigger than anyone could have predicted. It's important to pause here and understand why this particular moment resonated so strongly with the public. Fashion, especially at this level, is more than clothing. It's language. It communicates power, taste, and alignment with social hierarchies. When someone like Meghan, who carries both the weight of royalty and the scrutiny of a global media apparatus, wears a dress that challenges or encroaches upon the domain of someone like Victoria, it is interpreted as a statement, whether intentional or not, and the public knows it. That's why every fashion misstep, every perceived slight, every minor clash is amplified into global conversation. It's why a $10,000 dress is never just a dress. It is a symbol, a weapon, and sometimes the spark of a full-blown crisis. The fallout, of course, did not stop at a tense glance or whispered remark. Within hours, social media was flooded with commentary. The hashtags began trending. Analysts, gossip columnists, and influencers dissected every possible angle. Was it intentional? They asked. Was Victoria sending a message? The speculation fueled itself, building a narrative that portrayed Meghan as both the victim and, in the eyes of some, the instigator. The situation was complex. Some defended her choice as elegant and unassailable. Others interpreted it as a miscalculation, a breach of unwritten rules governing celebrity and fashion hierarchies. But for Victoria Beckham, the moment represented authority, control, and the subtle demonstration that influence cannot be challenged lightly. It was calculated, strategic, and in many ways, devastating in its impact. And then came the brands. Luxury houses that had previously embraced Meghan's image began to reconsider. They were faced with a delicate balance. Maintaining their relationship with a high-profile royal figure while also aligning with the industry's established hierarchy and avoiding entanglement in what could quickly be interpreted as a personal feud. One by one, partnerships were quietly paused, collaborations reevaluated, and public associations reconsidered. The ripple effect was swift and brutal, a demonstration of how influence and perception in fashion and celebrity culture operate like a carefully tuned ecosystem. One misstep, one perceived insult, and entire professional worlds can shift overnight. Meghan, already under intense scrutiny, suddenly found herself navigating not only personal embarrassment, but also professional instability. What had started as a dress became a test of resilience, strategy, and public image management. But the story doesn't end there. While the public spectacle captured headlines and social media outrage, the private ramifications were equally dramatic. Sources close to both Meghan and Victoria described behind-the-scenes conversations filled with tension, strategy, and the unspoken calculations of influence. Leaked emails and insider accounts hinted at a chess game in which every move had consequences. Allies whispered advice, PR teams recalibrated talking points, and every appearance was scrutinized for hidden meaning. What unfolded in public was just the surface of a much deeper conflict. One that involved power, status, and the unrelenting scrutiny that comes with being at the apex of celebrity and fashion culture. And for the viewers watching this unfold online, the intrigue is irresistible. Who is in the right? Who miscalculated? How far will this feud go? These questions drive engagement, speculation, and discussion. They also highlight a truth about modern celebrity culture. The stakes are enormous, the consequences real, and the drama unrelenting. By the end of this story, we will reveal details that no one expected, moments of betrayal, strategic brilliance, and missteps so severe they altered the trajectory of Meghan's public image. But right now, the stage is set, the players are in place, and the first sparks of conflict have ignited. What comes next is a story of power, influence, and public humiliation unlike anything the fashion or royal worlds have seen. By the time we reach the heart of this saga, you will understand how a single $10,000 dress could trigger a public humiliation so thorough that it forced global brands to cut ties, reshape the narratives around two of the most high-profile women in the world, and spark conversations about influence, entitlement, and perception that will continue to resonate for years to come. This is not just a story about clothing. It is a story about power, ego, and the unexpected ways that public and private worlds collide. And as we dive deeper, you will see that what seemed like a single moment of tension was actually a carefully orchestrated series of events with consequences that no one, not Meghan, not Victoria, and not the brands caught in the middle, could have fully anticipated. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. Have you ever felt the unnerving sensation that someone knows more about you than you realize? That your every word, every movement, even your quietest thoughts, are being monitored? That's exactly what was happening on that yacht. Because while the guests laughed, sipped champagne, and floated through the night in an illusion of glamour and ease, they were not alone. Observers, hidden, discreet, and highly strategic, were watching, calculating, and recording everything. At first glance, it seemed like a luxurious social gathering, a night of elite leisure. But beneath the surface, this was surveillance theater at its highest level. There were individuals whose presence went almost unnoticed, security personnel blending seamlessly with the staff, discreet cameras positioned to capture angles no human eye could easily track, and even some guests who had dual roles, partier by appearance, informant by assignment. Every interaction was documented, every glance, every whisper, every smile, cataloged, analyzed, and stored for future use. It wasn't paranoia. It was reality. In circles where billions of dollars and centuries of legacy intersect, nothing goes unnoticed. You can laugh, dance, or pretend to sip wine casually, but someone, somewhere, is watching. The level of scrutiny is staggering. Every handshake could be a signal. Every compliment could be coded. And every perceived misstep, real or imagined, could be recorded, interpreted, and weaponized. Now, think about Meghan's position in all of this. She was, in many ways, the ultimate spectacle. Not merely a guest, but a figure whose every move carried meaning far beyond the immediate moment. Observers were tracking her not just as a celebrity or a royal figure, but as a strategic player. Every conversation she had could ripple into a larger narrative, shaping perceptions in Hollywood, Europe, and the Middle East. And as the night unfolded, it became increasingly clear that the stakes were higher than even the most sophisticated guests realized. Some of the people watching were insiders, trusted advisors of global power players, individuals who knew the terrain, understood human behavior, and could read subtle cues like a language of its own. They were trained to notice anomalies, a twitch, a hesitation, a glance that lingered too long. And when you combine this expertise with high-tech surveillance, hidden cameras, recording devices, and real-time communication with other operatives, you start to see how quickly a seemingly benign night of networking can become a high-stakes game of observation and calculation. But the watchers weren't just focused on Meghan. The yacht was a microcosm of influence. Every guest was under scrutiny. Alliances were being formed in whispers behind closed doors. Some were calculating how to gain advantage over others. Some were protecting secrets. And some were simply trying to understand the complex web of interactions unfolding before them. The environment was tense, though few would admit it at the time. The atmosphere was a delicate balance of charm, influence, and latent threat. Then there were the unpredictable elements. Even the most carefully monitored events cannot account for human instinct, improvisation, or ambition. People act, react, and make choices in the moment, sometimes revealing more than they intend. Meghan, of course, was acutely aware of this dynamic. Observers later noted that she seemed to navigate the attention with remarkable skill, understanding instinctively which conversations mattered, which gestures conveyed power, and which interactions could be leveraged for future advantage. But not every move can be controlled, not every observation can be anticipated. And in the shadows, things began to shift in ways that would later become central to the unfolding drama. Perhaps most intriguing were the whispers about the Saudi crown prince. How did he become privy to the details? Was he monitoring remotely, through informants, or did he have access to the yacht itself in a way that allowed him to witness events directly? The specifics remain partially obscured, but what is clear is that his insight was precise, informed, and damning. He could recount details that no casual observer would notice, providing confirmation of interactions, movements, and decisions that were previously only speculation. And his involvement is what would later elevate this story from scandalous rumor to explosive revelation. It's worth pausing here to consider the psychology of surveillance in this context. When people are being observed without their knowledge, their behavior often shifts in subtle ways. Some become more cautious, others more daring, and some unconsciously reveal their intentions through micro-expressions, gestures, or speech patterns. In an environment as charged as this yacht, these small indicators were invaluable. Every guest was essentially under a psychological microscope, and the watchers were exceptionally trained at interpreting what they saw. So who exactly was watching? Some were insiders embedded in the service staff, others were external consultants brought in by